Committee. Unfortunately, Representative Farney is tight on time, and so unlike her colleagues, she will have to leave immediately after she speaks and go to the House floor, so she will be unable to answer any questions from the audience. I'd like to welcome Representative Farney to the stage. I've been told we need to make a quick announcement to our future adult leaders that are here present today.
Hi there, good morning. Representative Farney's being very gracious to let us butt in and make this announcement, but our students were supposed to be with us at a student caucus all day today, and we had to move that over here because of the weather and different travel challenges. Representative Landgraf was one of your speakers over at the student caucus. And he's really committed to wanting to meet every student that came today. So we have a couple of experiences we'd still like to offer for our students. So at this time, we're going to ask our students to go with Leslie and Kyle, and we're going to go have a private meeting with Representative Landgraf. And also, this afternoon, we've arranged for a photo opportunity with Speaker Strauss. So mark your calendars, parents that brought students, at 2:45. We'll meet outside the House chamber on the second floor, and Speaker Strauss will come and greet the students and have a photo op. And then we'll bring them back here before the rally begins at 11:30. So if all the students in the room, if they could go with Leslie and Kyle, and we're going to go take a field trip.
Students, thank you so much though for being here today. Everything we're working on is all for you. So you're very important to us. You're the centerpiece of all that we do. So thank you. Enjoy your day. Well, good morning, PTA friends. How are you today? You were looking at a PTA mom. That is one of the most important organizations that I always make a priority to make sure I don't let that lapse. And it's also something I love to tweet out to the legislature, is that I signed up and I'm a PTA parent. How about you? Because you know, it's so easy to criticize the public schools. But if you want to make a difference, the first place you should go is to the PTA. Yeah. I do want to say thank you for all that you've done and all that you continue to do to enrich the educational opportunities for our children and for even my children, now my grandchildren. PTA absolutely is the lifeblood of what goes on in our schools. This is truly when you see parents engaged in our schools. That's when our schools get better, when we have parents on campus. So parents should always be welcome. Parents should always be engaged. And you are the model that we'd like to see. We want more of you. Well, let me begin. I'm going to talk to you about a couple of different subjects. One thing I've been asked to discuss is a hot topic I'm sure you've heard about, and that is different terms that we have about school vouchers. And there are different terminologies, there are different things, but bottom line, what it is when you have taxpayer dollars going to a private entity. There are reasons that people bring this up. And I want you to know, I am very strong in supporting whatever a parent decides is in the best interest of their child. If it is homeschool, if it is private school, if it's a charter or a magnet or one of our other opportunities, or a traditional public school. The traditional public school is what we find specifically mentioned in our state constitution in Article 7, where it says the legislature is charged with the duty to make adequate provision for the support and maintenance of a, you know the next two words? Public free school. And as long as the Constitution says that, unless we do come up with a constitutional amendment, that is my guideline, because the Constitution matters. The language was carefully chosen. So for me, my focus is on primarily the public free schools. We do have a small number, but we do have some of our public schools that struggle. We do have some of our public schools that are classified as failing. I do take, though, a little umbrage, though, when I hear people speak about those failing schools and all they tie it to is the No Child Left Behind standard, which is 100% of the children reading. at appropriate grade level and also in their math. There is, which school has that? And why in the world was that ever the standard? Did you see recently, though, that we are showing that 90% of our students now are graduating? There is a lot of good news about our public schools. And while some people like to focus only on the negative, I think we need to focus just as equally on what is going well and what is good in our public schools. But looking at the schools that are not providing for their children for whatever reason, I believe a lot of times it's because of things in the community, high crime, poverty. And these things greatly impact the economic setting of the school as well as the academic potential. I do believe, though, if there was a way we could find to help those schools and bracket something like that could help them, I would be willing to consider that. But on a whole across our state, I do not. Now let me tell you another way to look at this, and that is, what are we doing and what does a private school provide? A private school provides something that is inherently very valuable into our public schools, doesn't it? If we have a parent who wants to ensure their particular religious beliefs are reinforced in the school, the private school is the best option for them. Wouldn't you agree? And I bet you, as public school parents, though, also support what private schools offer and also support when parents feel the need for their child to have homeschooling. And as you know, I'm a very strong public school proponent. I mean, that's the reason I ran for office. That's the reason I served on the State Board of Education. But I do want you to realize, though, that I believe private schools are at risk when you start taking taxpayer dollars. Look what's happened to our public schools. We now will need to talk about accountability and transparency. Isn't that what we always say about taxpayer dollars? You can talk to me. That's right, isn't it? You know it is. We are strong on accountability to the taxpayers where their dollars go. Private schools have many, many opportunities that our public schools do not. They're able to set standards, and they have every right as a private school to set standards. I've been looking for the past year and a half at some of our private school admission requirements across the state. I don't have my full list with me here, but I do have a file in my office. And I want to protect our private schools when they say they want to accept. Some that I've read say you have to be reading at grade level or above. You have to have a 75 or above. Or if you have a cognitive or learning disability that requires assistive technology, some of our schools say we cannot provide that. Others have said that if you have a physical disability, I read one up in Northeast Texas that said then you would need to either provide your own nurse or pay an additional $10,000. Another one I saw talked about we do not provide lunch. I visited with one private school owner in my district. By the way, none of the private schools in my area want this because they feel concerned. Even one of our Catholic schools said to me that they said they would not want to do this, and they have an outstanding program. They offer scholarships. They get people in the community to help contribute to provide this for their students. But in many of them, if you can't provide your own transportation, if you're not able to provide your lunch, if you're an English language learner, if you do have a physical disability or a cognitive disability, unfortunately, some of these schools do not feel equipped to help you reach your full academic potential. And again, that's their right to limit. What happens to that right, though, when you take taxpayer dollars? Are you able then to turn away this child and this child and this child, but take this one? I feel that's a concern. I noticed also, if you look at the admission requirements, you're going to find things about wanting a certified birth certificate. Public schools have to take everyone, whether you provide a birth certificate or not. And they're requiring the immunization records. We have to take them whether we can get all that documentation or not. And then we even have a wide variety to meet every potential religious need or desire. And that's a good thing to have in Texas. And again, let me reinforce, I support our private schools. And there are some of every different religious affiliation. I noticed of the 19 Islam private schools we have, that they want you to learn Arabic so you can learn to read the Quran. And they have the right to do that. So if and I'm in the process now trying to locate where our failing public schools are, to see which private schools are located nearby. And will they be willing to take these students with their taxpayer grant or whatever terminology is used? Currently, what's been said is they will not have to lower their standards. Well, does that mean then they can turn down someone else who's not on reading level? This is something we need to watch. This is something we need to be careful of. Again, we need to be extremely cautious that we closely watch where taxpayer dollars go. Also, looking at, do you remember a lot of the discussion that came up about C-Scope? Do you know what C-Scope is? Do you? It's one of the things that was offered through our educational service centers, a form of curriculum support that we wound up with legislation last time saying that will not be used in our public schools. Some of our private schools use it, because I've looked and I have documentation showing it. Some use Common Core. Some use, oh, I heard that gasp. And some also will use Abeka, which are Christian-based things. Some of our Christian schools right now, our private schools, have the right to say, we want a statement of faith from you. We want to know you sign off that you will have your child in a church service regularly. And they have the right to do that. But what happens when all of a sudden taxpayer dollars go there? Look what it's done to the public schools. Look at the burden that the public schools have. People like to criticize our public schools and talk about what you don't do. But because we have transparency, because we have accountability, we have the burden of a lot of reporting, we have a lot of other things on our public schools. I would hate to see that transferred over to our private schools. So my concern is twofold. One, in my view, based on what the Constitution says, talking about the duty that as a legislature we have to ensure that we have adequate provision for support and maintenance of our public free schools. Secondly, if you look at it as far as does it put our private schools, who provide a very important service, does it put them at risk? Because I believe it's a burden on our public schools, what we have going on. Well, I think I probably had the topic that was the most controversial to come and to visit with you about. I hope it caused you to think about this. And again, we're not against any form of education for our children, but I am completely wanting to stick with our Constitution and provide and make provision for our traditional public schools as well. I'm going to close with telling you one more thing. I'm going to give you homework, because you're from all different districts all across the state. Is that correct? We have just formed an education caucus in my office, and we are focusing 100% on what is going well and what is good in your districts. So please contact your state representative, and if you don't know who that is, look them up. I'll be your backup rep. That'd be a pleasure. And share with us an outstanding achievement in your district. And I'm trying to move beyond the outstanding achievements of football and basketball, which I thoroughly enjoy, and I know you do too. But when you have teachers or campuses or students who have done something amazing, who have done something with a statewide recognition, national recognition, share that with your rep, copy it to me, and we're putting it in newsletters. Because the good things going on in our public schools are not going to make the headlines. So it's up to you, it's up to me to shine the light on all the good things going on in our schools. And I assure you, the good things would be much diminished without your involvement. I am so honored to get to speak with you. You are absolutely, I believe, the most powerful organization in our state, because you are parents, you are involved with your children, you are what we want more of across our state. Use that power, use that influence to do good. Share the good things that are going on that you see. Let us know, and I will happily share that with every member in the legislature. Thank you so much.
I want to thank Representative Farney for your recognition of the great works that PTA does. I'm glad you're proud to be a PTA mom, and we thank you for your efforts as it relates to public schools and keeping them at the forefront. Thank you.